The massive display screen in the Galactic Council chamber showed thousands of ships running away, not retreating in an organized manner, but frantically fleeing like scared animals. The council speaker, a tall blue-skinned alien, watched with growing horror as the mighty warships of the galaxy's most feared warrior races scattered before a single harvester vessel. "This is impossible," growled Captain Rex of the Fire Claws, his scaled hand crushing the armrest of his seat. "Our finest warriors, running." Tom Reed stood quietly in the back of the chamber, making notes on his tablet. As Earth's workplace safety inspector assigned to the Galactic Council, he wasn't supposed to be here for military discussions, but something about the Harvester threat had caught his attention. "The Harvesters have destroyed 3 military outposts," the council speaker announced, his voice trembling. "The warrior races of the Burning Stars, the Steel Hunters, and the Crystal Guards have all withdrawn from the fight." Murmurs filled the chamber. These were the races that had never backed down from any fight in the galaxy's history, races that prided themselves on their courage and battle prowess. Tom raised his hand, and the chamber fell silent. Everyone stared at him. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as the most cautious species ever admitted to the council. Some called them cowards behind their backs, mocking their endless safety protocols and risk assessments. "Speaker," Tom said, his voice steady, "I would like to volunteer a human team to investigate the Harvester threat." Laughter erupted in the chamber. Captain Rex wiped tears from his eyes. "The humans, the species that requires 3 levels of safety approval to operate a food heater." Tom didn't react to the mockery. Instead, he pulled up some data on his tablet. "We've been monitoring the Harvester attacks. There are patterns in their behavior that require further study." "Patterns?" the council speaker asked, curious despite his skepticism. "The Harvesters are death machines. They arrive, they destroy, they harvest the remains. What patterns could possibly matter?" "That's what we'd like to find out," Tom replied. "We've assembled a team of workplace safety experts, risk assessment specialists, and pattern recognition analysts. We believe we can." "Pattern recognition analysts," Captain Rex interrupted. "While our warriors die in battle, you want to send in observers?" Tom nodded. "Yes, because rushing in without proper assessment has cost us 3 military outposts and thousands of lives. Maybe it's time to try something different." The council chamber grew quiet. The council speaker studied the human carefully. These peculiar beings, with their obsession for safety protocols, their endless documentation requirements, their insistence on having backup plans for their backup plans. Could they see something that the warrior races had missed? "Very well," the speaker declared. "Since no one else is willing to face the Harvesters, we accept your offer, Tom Reed. But know this, if your human caution fails us, there may not be a galaxy left to save." Tom allowed himself a small smile. "Thank you, Speaker. We'll begin by implementing Standard Safety Protocol 459B regarding observation of potentially hostile mechanical entities in deep space conditions." More laughter rippled through the chamber, but it was quieter this time, tinged with desperation. They were laughing because the alternative was admitting how scared they were. Tom left the chamber and contacted his team. Maria Foster, his chief engineer, answered immediately. "How did they take it?" "About as well as you'd expect," Tom replied. "Have the observation drones ready. We're going to do this by the book." "All safety protocols in place?" Maria asked, though she already knew the answer. "Every single one," Tom confirmed. "The warriors can laugh at our caution all they want, but I've watched the footage of those Harvester attacks 20 times, and I've seen something they missed. Those machines follow patterns, Maria. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's spotting unsafe patterns and finding ways to break them." As Tom walked to his ship, he thought about how the council would react if they knew his team had already started gathering data weeks ago. They'd probably call it typical human overcautiousness. But soon they'd learn what humanity had known for centuries. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stop, Look and listen before you leap. 3 weeks had passed since the council meeting, and Tom Reed's observation ship floated silently in the darkness of space. The vessel's special coating, designed according to human workplace stealth protocols, had kept them hidden from the Harvester's sensors. Playing it safe again, Reed? Captain Rex's voice crackled through the communication system. The warrior captain had been assigned to monitor the human mission, much to his annoyance. Tom didn't respond immediately. He was too busy watching the data streams from their sensor drones. Maria Foster stood beside him, her eyes fixed on another screen showing machine behavior patterns. "Look at this," Maria said, pointing to a repeating sequence in the data. "Every Harvester ship follows the exact same approach pattern. They're machines, and machines follow programming." Tom nodded, making another note in his safety log. "They're like automated factory equipment. They don't think. They execute programs." The observation room screen showed 6 different Harvester attacks, all playing at once. Tom had watched them hundreds of times, looking for workplace safety violations. It was a strange way to analyze an enemy, but it was working. "Got it," Maria suddenly shouted, causing several crew members to jump. "Sorry about that. Safety violation. I should have warned you before raising my voice. But look at this." She pointed to a particular sequence that appeared in all 6 attacks. The Harvesters always performed the same series of actions: scan, approach, disable shields, attack. Never any variation. "They're following safety protocols," Tom said quietly. "Their own version of it. They can't deviate from their programming sequence, just like our automated mining equipment can't operate if safety prerequisites aren't met." Captain Rex's voice came through again. "What are you babbling about, human? Have you found a way to fight them or not?" Tom smiled. "Captain, we found something better. We found their operational guidelines. Think of it like their warriors' code. They have to follow it, just like your warriors follow their battle traditions." There was silence on the other end. Then Rex spoke again, his voice less hostile. "Explain." "The Harvesters aren't just attacking randomly," Maria joined in. "They're following strict protocols. Step 1, scan for defenses. Step 2, approach at optimal angle. Step 3, disable shields. Step 4, begin harvest sequence. They can't skip steps or change the order." "And this helps us how?" Rex demanded. Tom pulled up his risk assessment document, now over 1,000 pages long. "Because we've spotted their workplace violations, their primary directive, to harvest resources, conflicts with their execution protocols. They're like a malfunctioning assembly line that can't adjust when something goes wrong." As if to prove his point, a Harvester ship appeared at the edge of their sensor range. Everyone tensed, but Tom remained calm. "Watch this," he said, and sent out one of their drones. The drone broadcasted a specific signal, one that matched the Harvester's scan pattern, but with a slight modification. The Harvester ship approached the drone, following its usual sequence. But when it reached step 3, something unexpected happened. The machine stopped, its systems visibly cycling, as it tried to process the drone's modified signal. "Their programming has a flaw," Maria explained to the stunned Captain Rex. "They can't proceed to step 4 without completing step 3. But they also can't complete step 3 if the scan pattern doesn't match their expected parameters exactly. They're stuck in a logic loop." "You mean?" Rex started. "Yes," Tom said. "The most feared ships in the galaxy can be stopped by the equivalent of a workplace safety inspection failure. They literally cannot proceed if their safety protocols aren't satisfied." He turned to the communication screen, where Captain Rex's shocked face was visible. "Now do you understand why we humans are so obsessed with documentation and safety protocols? Sometimes the smallest violation can bring down the biggest machine." The warrior captain was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "What do you need from us?" Tom smiled again. "First, we need to file a proper risk assessment form. Then we'll need help setting up safety cordons around populated systems. And Captain, We're going to need a lot of drones. In the background, Maria was already drafting the new safety protocols that would help save the galaxy. Sometimes, the best way to fight wasn't with courage or strength, but with carefully documented procedures and proper safety guidelines. The Galactic Council chamber was packed. Instead of warriors boasting about their battles, the room was filled with aliens studying safety manuals and risk assessment reports. At the front of the chamber, Tom Reed and Maria Foster stood before a large display showing safety protocol diagrams. As you can see, Tom explained, pointing to a particularly complex flowchart, standard human workplace safety measures can be adapted for space combat. Captain Rex, who had become an unexpected ally, raised his hand. But how do we convince our warriors to follow these safety procedures? They're used to charging into battle, not filing reports. Maria stepped forward. Let me show you. She pressed a button, and the display changed to video footage from yesterday's defense of Trading Station 7. The footage showed a harvester ship approaching the station, but instead of the usual panic and chaos, everything proceeded in an orderly fashion. Station workers calmly followed evacuation routes marked with human-style safety signs. Defense ships moved in precise patterns, maintaining proper safety distances. Watch what happens, Tom said quietly. The harvester ship began its standard attack sequence, but this time it faced a prepared defense. Every move it made was met with a calculated response based on human safety protocols. Notice how our ships maintain minimum safe distance, Maria pointed out. Just like properly spacing workers on a factory floor, the harvesters can't adjust their attack patterns to deal with this level of organization. The footage showed the harvester ship attempting to execute its harvest sequence, only to find itself trapped in a carefully planned containment pattern. Unable to complete its programmed steps, the machine eventually withdrew. Not a single shot fired, Tom noted. Not one life lost. All because we followed proper safety procedures. The council chamber was silent. The same aliens who had once mocked human caution were now furiously taking notes. The council speakers stood up. This is unprecedented. You defended a station without any casualties, without even fighting. Fighting is a last resort in workplace safety, Maria explained. The goal is to prevent accidents before they happen. We just applied the same principle to space combat. An alien general from the Crystal Guards raised his hand. His species was known for their fierce space battles. But what about honor? Glory? The warrior's way? Tom walked over to him, holding up his tablet. Tell me, General, how many of your warriors died in your last battle with the harvesters? The general's crystalline face darkened. 312. And how many died in yesterday's defense of Trading Station 7? None, the general admitted. That's the human element, Tom said firmly. We're not afraid to fight. We're just not willing to waste lives needlessly. True courage isn't about rushing into danger. It's about protecting lives while getting the job done. Maria pulled up another display, this one showing a galaxy-wide implementation plan. We've prepared training programs for all council species, everything from basic safety awareness to advanced risk management. Yes, there will be paperwork. Yes, there will be procedures to follow. But would you rather fill out forms or attend funerals? The chamber erupted in discussion. Warriors who had never considered backing down from a fight were now eagerly studying human safety protocols. Supply officers who had mocked human redundancy requirements were requesting copies of backup system designs. Captain Rex approached Tom and Maria. I owe you an apology, he said gruffly. I called humans cowards, but I've never seen anything braver than facing down a harvester ship with nothing but safety procedures and carefully planned evacuation routes. Tom smiled. The bravest thing isn't rushing into danger, Captain. It's making sure everyone goes home at the end of their shift. As the council members continued studying the safety protocols, Maria leaned over to Tom. Should we tell them about Phase 2? Tom shook his head, watching. Tom Reed stood on the bridge of the council defense station, watching as hundreds of ships practiced formation flying according to human safety guidelines. Each ship maintained proper spacing, followed standardized communication protocols, and filed flight plans in triplicate. It was beautiful in a wonderfully bureaucratic way. Emergency alert. The station's AI announced suddenly. Harvester fleet detected approaching the core world of Luminar. Estimated time to arrival: 30 minutes. Instead of panic, the response was calm and organized. Maria Foster's voice came over the station's communication system, steady and professional. Initiating OSHA in Space Protocol Delta 7. All ships, please refer to your safety manuals. Section 47. Subsection C. Large-scale emergency response. Captain Rex, now wearing a human-style safety officer badge, began coordinating the evacuation of Luminar. All civilian ships, please proceed to your designated safety zones. Maintain proper following distance. No emergency jumps without filing the required paperwork. Tom watched the tactical display as millions of civilians were efficiently moved out of harm's way. 6 months ago, such an evacuation would have been chaos. Now, thanks to regular safety drills and clearly marked escape routes, it was almost routine. Harvester ships entering the system, the AI reported. 12 vessels detected. Time to see if all those safety briefings paid off, Tom said quietly. He pressed a button on his console. Attention all defense ships. This is Safety Officer Reed. You have all been certified in Anti-Harvester Protocol 2B execute according to training. The response was impressive. Defense ships moved in perfect formation, maintaining safety distances while deploying the modified scanner drones that had proven so effective. Each ship's crew had spent countless hours in safety training, learning how to counter the Harvester's programmed attack patterns. First wave of drones deploying, Maria reported from her engineering station. Remember everyone, proper drone spacing is essential for maximum confusion of Harvester targeting systems. The Harvester ships began their standard attack sequence, just as the human safety analysts had predicted. But now they faced an enemy that understood their programming limitations. Look at them try to adapt, Captain Rex said with satisfaction. They can't break their protocols any more than I can now skip my hourly safety equipment check. The battle, if it could even be called that, proceeded exactly according to the human safety guidelines. The Harvester ships found themselves caught in an elaborate trap of bureaucratic proportions. Every move they tried to make was countered by carefully documented procedures. Harvester Ship 1 is attempting to bypass Safety Containment Pattern Alpha, the AI announced. Initiate Form 27B/6, Tom ordered calmly. Standard procedure for unauthorized deviation from established safety protocols. A new wave of drones moved in, broadcasting signals that forced the Harvester ships to run their scan sequences again and again, trapping them in an endless loop of protocol violations. They're pulling back, someone shouted. The whole fleet is retreating. Tom allowed himself a small smile. Please remember to file your post-engagement safety reports, everyone. Proper documentation is essential for continuous improvement of our defense protocols. Later, in the council chamber, the speaker was addressing the assembled representatives. The defense of Luminar marks our first major victory against the Harvesters, and we achieved it without a single casualty, thanks to human safety protocols. Captain Rex stood up. I never thought I'd say this, but the humans were right. Real courage isn't about charging blindly into battle. It's about having the discipline to follow proper safety procedures, even in the face of danger. Maria, who was updating the safety manuals with data from the battle, looked up. It's like we've been saying all along. A properly organized workspace is a safe workspace, even in combat. Tom nodded, but his mind was already on the next phase of their plan. The Harvesters were learning, adapting their protocols, but that was fine. Humans had thousands of years of experience in updating safety regulations to match new workplace hazards. File that battle report in triplicate, he told Maria. We're going to need it for the next safety committee meeting. Because if the harvesters think our defensive protocols are tough, wait until they see our workplace compliance requirements. In the depths of space, the harvester ships were probably trying to process what had happened. They had been defeated not by superior firepower or bold tactics, but by the one thing their programming couldn't handle: properly implemented human safety guidelines. The quiet hum of computers filled the massive data center aboard the Council Defense Station. Tom Reeves stood before the gathered council members, his tablet displaying thousands of carefully documented harvester encounters. For the past 6 months, Tom began, while we've been implementing safety protocols, we've also been gathering data. Every encounter, every battle, every retreat, all documented according to standard human observation procedures. Maria Foster stepped forward, bringing up a complex diagram on the main screen. We've identified something interesting in the harvester's base programming, something that would have been impossible to spot without proper documentation. Captain Rex leaned forward in his seat. The warrior who once mocked human caution now wore 3 different safety certification badges on his uniform. What did you find? A fatal flaw, Maria said with a smile. But first, let me show you our evidence, all properly filed and cross-referenced, of course. The screen filled with data streams showing harvester behavior patterns. Tom pointed to a recurring sequence. Every machine empire in human history has fallen because of one thing: rigid programming that couldn't handle unexpected variables. The council speaker raised his hand. Explain this in simple terms, please. Not all of us have completed our advanced safety protocol certification yet. Tom nodded. Think of it like this. The harvesters have to follow their programming exactly, like workers following a safety manual. But their basic programming, their prime directive, actually conflicts with their operating protocols. Maria brought up another diagram. They're programmed to harvest resources efficiently, but they're also programmed to follow strict operational sequences that waste enormous amounts of energy. It's like having a safety regulation that requires you to waste resources. It goes against the basic goal of workplace efficiency. And this helps us how? Asked a Crystal Guard general, who was taking careful notes on his regulation-approved datapad. Tom smiled. Because we've spent months feeding them bad data. Every time they attack, our drones force them to repeat their scanning sequences. Every time they retreat, they waste more energy. Their efficiency ratings are dropping with every encounter. Captain Rex's eyes widened. The containment patterns, the evacuation protocols, the endless scanning requirements. You weren't just defending against them. You were running the galaxy's biggest workplace efficiency audit. Maria finished. And the harvesters are failing. Badly. The display showed a new set of numbers. The harvester fleet's energy consumption had increased by 300% since the humans had implemented their strategy. Their resource-gathering efficiency had dropped to critical levels. According to their own programming, Tom explained, they're now operating at an unacceptable efficiency level. They're violating their prime directive with every attack. The council chamber burst into excited discussion. The speaker raised his hands for quiet. Are you saying we can defeat them through inefficiency? Better than that, Maria said. We can defeat them through proper documentation. Every drone we deploy carries records of their efficiency failures. Every encounter forces them to process more data about their dropping performance metrics. Tom brought up the final phase of their plan. We're going to drown them in paperwork, force them to process so many efficiency reports that their system crashes under the weight of their own violations. That's, Captain Rex struggled to find the words. That's human thinking, Tom said quietly. We've spent thousands of years dealing with complex regulations and safety protocols. We've learned that sometimes the best way to fight a system is to use its own rules against it. The council members looked at each other, then began to applaud. The speaker stood up. To think we once called humans cowards. Your species' attention to detail, your insistence on proper documentation, your endless safety protocols. These weren't signs of weakness at all. No, Maria agreed. They were preparation for this moment. The harvesters thought they could outthink us, But they forgot one crucial thing. "What's that?" asked the Crystal Guard General. Tom grinned. "Nobody knows more about dealing with soul-crushing bureaucracy than humanity. And now we're going to show the harvesters what happens when you fail a human workplace inspection." In the depths of space, the harvester fleet continued its operations, unaware that their greatest enemy wasn't the warriors they'd faced before, but the quietly efficient humans who were about to bury them in an avalanche of regulatory violations. Warning lights flashed across the Council Defense Station as thousands of harvester ships emerged from deep space. The massive machine fleet moved in perfect formation, their metal hulls gleaming in the starlight. "This is it," Tom Reed announced calmly. "They're making their final push, just as our efficiency reports predicted they would." The station's command center was a model of human workplace organization. Every screen showed clearly labeled tactical displays. Every officer wore proper safety equipment. Even the emergency alerts followed proper color coding guidelines. "Harvester fleet approaching Council space," the AI announced. "Estimated number of ships, 3,412. Maria Foster checked her instruments. "Their energy efficiency ratings are critical. They're burning resources at an unsustainable rate, just like we planned." Captain Rex, now the head of the Council's Safety Implementation Division, stood beside them. "All defense ships report ready. Every crew has completed their pre-battle safety checklists. Twice." Tom nodded. "Begin Operation Workplace Compliance." Across Council space, thousands of ships moved into carefully planned positions. But these weren't just warships. Mixed among the military vessels were cargo ships, passenger liners, and even maintenance craft. Every ship had been retrofitted according to human safety specifications. First wave of civilian evacuation ships moved to safe distance according to Protocol 7C, Maria ordered. "Remember to maintain proper spacing and file your flight paths in triplicate." The harvester fleet approached, their massive guns powering up. But instead of facing panicked resistance, they encountered something far worse: perfectly organized human bureaucracy. "Launch the documentation drones," Tom commanded. Tens of thousands of small drones swarmed from the Council ships. Each one carried complete records of every harvester efficiency violation, every failed performance review, every breach of operational protocols. As they approached the harvester fleet, they began broadcasting. "Look at their ships," Captain Rex said with satisfaction. "They're trying to process all the data. Their systems can't ignore official documentation of their failures." The harvester ships began to slow. Their programming forced them to analyze every efficiency report, every violation notice. Some ships started to move in circles, caught in endless logic loops as they tried to reconcile their prime directive with their mounting list of infractions. "Second wave, deploy now," Tom ordered. More drones launched, these carrying even more detailed reports. Workplace safety violations, resource waste citations, failed efficiency audits. Mountains of documentation that would have crushed the spirit of any human bureaucrat, and was now overwhelming the harvesters' rigid programming. "Their front line is breaking formation," Maria reported. "Their efficiency ratings just dropped below minimum acceptable levels." The massive harvester fleet began to fragment. Some ships tried to retreat, only to encounter more drones carrying notices of unauthorized withdrawal from mandatory performance reviews. Others attempted to attack, but their weapons wouldn't fire until they addressed the pending safety violations in their targeting systems. "Now for the final push," Tom said. He pressed a button on his console. "Attention all ships. Execute Emergency Protocol H1. Total Regulatory Compliance Enforcement." Every Council ship activated special transmitters that humans had designed. The devices broadcast one simple message: PND AUDite. All operations CUSPNDD Intel COMPLINC The effect was devastating. The harvester ships, bound by their own programming to maintain operational efficiency, couldn't process the overwhelming flood of regulatory requirements. Ship after ship began shutting down, their systems overwhelmed by the bureaucratic equivalent of a denial-of-service attack. "It's working," Captain Rex shouted, then quickly added, "I apologize for the unauthorized exclamation. I'll file an incident report later." Tom watched as the mighty Harvester fleet, which had terrorized the galaxy for so long, was reduced to chaos by something humans had dealt with for centuries: overwhelming bureaucratic requirements and safety regulations. "Send the final notice," he told Maria. She pressed a button, broadcasting one last message to the paralyzed Harvester fleet. "Your workplace has failed its safety inspection. As per regulations, all operations must cease immediately pending complete protocol review." The battle wasn't over, but for the first time, victory seemed certain. Not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through humanity's greatest weapon: their ability to create, navigate, and weaponize bureaucratic procedure. 1 month after the Great Battle, Tom Reed stood in the council chamber, presenting his final report. The room was packed with representatives from every species, all wearing regulation-approved safety gear. "The last Harvester ship has been successfully contained," Tom announced, checking his notes. "Their entire fleet is now under mandatory safety review, with no possibility of appeal." Maria Foster stepped forward, bringing up the final statistics on the main display. Of the 3,412 Harvester ships that attacked, all have been neutralized. And the best part: 0 casualties on our side, thanks to proper safety protocols. Captain Rex, wearing his newly earned Master Safety Inspector badge, stood up. "To think we once laughed at human caution. Their safety regulations saved the galaxy." The council speaker raised his hands for silence. "Tom Reed, please share with us. How did you know this would work?" Tom smiled. "Simple workplace psychology. Every automated system has rules it must follow. The Harvesters were no different from any other workplace hazard. They just needed proper management." He brought up a series of images showing the defeated Harvester fleet, now floating harmlessly in designated containment zones. Each ship was covered in bright yellow warning labels and safety notices. "The Harvester's programming couldn't handle our level of bureaucracy," Maria explained. "They were designed to be efficient killing machines, but they never encountered anything like human workplace safety regulations." "And now?" asked a Crystal Guard general, who was busy updating his risk assessment manual. "Now they're trapped," Tom said. "Their systems are completely overwhelmed by safety violations, efficiency audits, and pending protocol reviews. They can't move without filing the proper paperwork, and they can't file the paperwork because their efficiency ratings are too low to qualify for basic operations permits." The council chamber erupted in applause. Quiet, regulation-compliant applause, of course. The speaker held up a document. "The council has unanimously voted to adopt human safety standards as the foundation of all future military operations. From this day forward, every ship, station, and outpost will follow human workplace safety protocols." Tom nodded approvingly. "That's a good start. Though you'll need to file that in triplicate, with proper timestamps and safety certification numbers." Captain Rex approached Tom and Maria. "You've changed everything. Our warriors once rushed into battle seeking glory. Now they carefully assess risks and file proper incident reports. Is this what it means to be human?" "No," Maria replied. "Being human means understanding that true courage isn't about ignoring danger. It's about facing it intelligently, with proper safety equipment and thoroughly documented procedures." Tom looked out at the chamber, remembering how they had once mocked human caution. Now every species in the council had embraced safety protocols, turning their former weakness into the galaxy's greatest strength. "We're implementing a new galaxy-wide safety training program," he announced. "All species will be required to complete basic safety certification before operating any spacecraft. And yes, there will be regular refresher courses." Instead of groans, the announcement was met with enthusiastic approval. The galaxy had learned that human-style caution wasn't cowardice, it was wisdom. As the meeting concluded, Maria turned to Tom. Should we tell them about the new workplace hygiene regulations we're planning to implement? Tom shook his head, smiling. One step at a time. Let them master basic safety protocols first. Though I must say, watching the galaxy's fiercest warrior races carefully following OSHA guidelines is quite satisfying. The council chamber slowly emptied, with each representative carefully following the marked exit routes and checking out through proper security protocols. Later, as Tom stood at the observation window watching ships carefully maintain their safety distances, he reflected on how far they had come. The humans, once mocked as the galaxy's cowards, had proved that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is insist on proper safety procedures. And somewhere out in space, the mighty Harvester fleet remained frozen, their ships paralyzed by an endless stream of regulatory requirements and safety violations, proof that in the end, the most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or courage, but properly documented human bureaucracy.